Okay, good. For the record, in case anybody watches this, can you say and spell your name?
My name is Montreal Cain, Montreal. Last name Cain.
And is there a title you want me to use or organization?
Executive Director of MIRA Cares. M-E-R-A Cares.
What does MERA stand for?
MIRA stands for Monitor, Engage, Recommend, and Advocate.
Okay, and that's your organization?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so I've been watching the videos online. A lot of people praise it in the city, your work. What made you decide to leave your own home and go help strangers?
I was sad. I was very sad. I was using some creative writing the day before. I used music as a form of therapy. My piano died, wouldn't come back on. My laptop died, wouldn't come back on. And when I was writing about it, I realized it was deeper than my tech. It represented the 2 children I buried in the last 10 months. And I started seeing the parallelisms. And so around midnight, I was transferring some files from just producing the Unity Black Excellence Awards, talking to my mentee. I go downstairs, and the piano I've been using to give back to God, play at church, score films, all kind of stuff, I'm watching it fry in front of my face. But I was calm, because the day before I had just wrote about loss and grief and just better ways to cope. And so after I was ciphering water out of the basement, I went to my daughter's gravesite. She's a little lower than the ground than my son that we lost. And I was worried, because they told us we couldn't get a tombstone for a whole year. The ground had to settle. So when I went there and there was like a foot of water on her grave, I'm like, Lord, you know I'm struggling right now. Just keep my baby safe. And I heard God say clear as day, I'll take care of your child, go take care of my children. So I get a call from my pastor at about 7 a.m. telling me that church was canceled. I get a call from Senator Dora Drake asking, what do we need? What kind of support needs to happen where? What does she need to communicate with the governor's office? And I decided right then in that moment, when you're feeling low, go do something high. Do something good. There's better ways to cope. Helping other people can help you feel better. And so I went out with the intentions of unclogging the drain. I happen to have one of my C-stands, and God is talking to me like, use the C-stand. And I'm like, bruh, this heavy. And you want me to use this, which we use for tech, which we use in media, to unclog a drain? He said, that's exactly what you'll need. So I obeyed. I have a great relationship with God. We talk often. And it was one of those moments where I took what I needed. I had a tripod in the car from an event 2 days prior, and I just put it up. And I'm like, there's other great people out here. There's individuals that do this work all the time. You got the Von Mays of the world. You got the Rashads. You got Aziz. You got Jakai. I'm looking at these guys, Andron, and I'm like, hey, if all of us start showing people how to do it, then the cars can get moved that was lost the night before. The semi trucks can get through. The fire trucks can get through. We just need to drain it. So I started posting, use what you have. You know, and prior to that, I just realized, even with the level of emotional intelligence I have and coping skills and mindfulness, I was stressed out. So what about the rest of the world? What about people who don't know the practical steps? So I started going on Facebook. Here's a tip. Use this. This is what I'm doing. Use what you have. What if you don't have it? Well, go to Amazon. Amazon's not going to come fast enough. This what time Home Depot opens. This is Menards. What are the practical things that you can do right now, because nobody's coming to save us? In real life, you got to save yourself. But I figured if we could put out messaging that helped other people adopt drains to be able to help more than themselves, it would be something that individuals could see and they could do. So that was the goal.
And then, do you ever think twice, or was it an instant decision for you?
Instantly. This is not, it's not my first rodeo. I do this stuff all the time. I put my boots on, I put my mirror raincoat on, and I go out and I help people. Since I was 17 years old, if somebody was stranded on the side of the road, I would help. Then I see somebody that's cooler than me. They got a winch, they pull somebody out of a ditch, or they got an ice pick. And so I started gathering stuff over the last 10, 15 years. And most of the time, especially if it's a snowstorm, I'm going out there. We're pushing cars, we're helping people. It's just be who you needed. There's times that I needed help, and there's times people showed up for me. So it would be irresponsible not to pay it forward and be that example.
Talk about on the ground experience. What was the first neighborhood or home you went to, and what did you see when you got there, or one of the homes that stuck out to you?
So the first organizing process was sitting down with Aziz, sitting down with a few brothers, Vaughn, and saying, there's a lot of people that need help. and we don't do sub pumps. That's not our ministry. So we like, look, there's an African proverb that says, if you want to travel fast, travel alone. If you want to travel far, travel together. We were going to disperse. We said, no, let's stay together. Let's help someone that we know, so if we mess up, they won't be upset. And literally, we just decided to go to who had been waiting the longest. We didn't know that the second or third or fifth address was right across the street. While we were doing those 2 homes, there was 2 more homes watching us work, coming outside talking to us. It was like a block party, to the extent where people were outside, not because they wanted to be, because they were afraid. We're doing homes that might have 3 feet of water. You're seeing mattresses, TVs, used and unused detergent bottles floating, children's toys, power wheels, and you see the despair on some of the folks' faces. But when we showed up, it was like we was everybody's favorite nephew or cousin. They were shaking our hand, they was welcoming us into the homes. Then you would have that neighbor to say, oh, you don't want to see my basement. See, my basement right now, the power box is about this high. And what are we gonna do when that water hits? Who's coming? So at this point, we had to strategize. And this went on from 7:30 p.m. until 2 a.m. this morning. We weren't just using sub pumps in one place. We were taking the biggest ones to the greatest need, taking the small ones to keep ciphering, understanding that if this one only has 2 feet of water, it won't even work. So we had to keep going across the street to these 4 places, back and forth until it was done, with the promise of coming back tomorrow, with the promise of partnering with folks like Kelly Fielder and saying, can you donate those supplies you mentioned to get the mold out? What are the next steps? You know, and some people were reluctant.
Yeah.
There are a lot of properties owned by very popular renting groups, and they were like, hey, no, this is somebody else's responsibility. There was a family with 5 individuals. Out of the 5, 4 of them had a disability. And our goal was to prioritize anyone with disabilities, to prioritize any other seniors, but some folks were scared. Imagine coming to a place and 12 guys pull up, right? So it was a mix of emotions, but most people were just very grateful.
Yeah. And then, so you're saying people's reactions were a big mix when you showed up. Most people were super grateful, but they weren't expecting the help. So to see you guys, it must have been a big relief.
Some of them thought we were FEMA. You know, we walked in, hey, FEMA care. We're not FEMA. We some brothers that care.
I love that, man. And then what were some of the risks or challenges you guys faced? I saw you maybe knee deep in water, pulling out electrical plugs that were still plugged up. I mean, you put yourself in danger.
Every day. It's not anything new. You know, I was wearing a level 4 vest yesterday because I've gotten calls to go into houses where guns were drawn. You have to be anointed for this work. You have to have the courage of a lion. You have to be bold and you have to be gentle. So for me, you know, people will stand up for the wrong things. I stand for Christ. I know he has me covered. And I'm rebuilding my trust and my relationship with him. When you lose children, when you lose, you know, blood relatives, like I remember fasting for so long and praying for this little girl to come. And I asked God, can she have 10 fingers and 10 toes? I didn't think to ask for breath in her body. So for me, my favorite person was in the ground. At this point, it's do what I can to make Melody proud. And I know last night she was protecting me. She was looking down on me. She knew her daddy was good. And I was equipped. I understand how rubber works. I understand how electricity works. My father is an electrical engineer. A lot of people are fearful of things they don't understand. You know, and so I knew that if the power is on and it's running, the breakers haven't been hit, and all of the electrical boxes are above water, you're okay. But if that water continues to rise, it's gonna be catastrophic. So put the boots on and go get it done.
Wow. How do you keep going physically and mentally after what you experienced yesterday?
Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. I saw the protest here, 2014 with Dontre Hamilton, shout out to the Hamilton family, 2016 with Seville Smith, Joel Acevedo, just so many people that have fallen. And I remember realizing, like, we need leadership. We need people who understand the political realm and understand boots on the ground. There are so many leaders that have told me, don't do it. Don't do both. You can't be in the boardrooms and be boots on the ground. And to them I say, you may never have seen it, but this is what I do. This is what I was called to do. This is what I was anointed to do. So yes, I can have the vernacular, have those conversations with the suits, and I can get on the ground with my boots. You just got to be in position where God has called you to be, and that's what I do.
And then, how do you think our community would be different if more people stepped up like this? And then, how do you hope your actions, or what do you hope your actions would mean to the people you help?
Keith Terry has something called street services. He's been cleaning up North Avenue for years at no cost to anyone. Beautifying the neighborhood, planting flowers. The work has already been done. Give these folks the resources that they need. The Run the Rebels community organization cleans up the neighborhood on a regular basis with youth. Andre Lee Ellis at the Cage Initiative. If your hands are in the ground, they can't be on a gun. People saw me yesterday, but what you didn't realize is I'm Milwaukee born, bred, and raised. This is Milwaukee. People talk about the Kid Boys like they're not the next scientists or the next NASA students. They talk about Milwaukee like we don't have the highest graduation rate of African-American males at 85% across the country through the MKE Fellows, which I'm a proud alumni. They forget who we are. They take this narrative and they run with it. It's violent and it's this and it's that. I serve as the chair of the Milwaukee Milwaukee, what do I do? I serve as the co-chair for the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force. I am the only person of color on this task force. And I've heard narratives and I understand that there are people who do and don't look like me that don't realize we're resilient. We are people that's gonna figure it out. Barbecue sauce came because we weren't given the best part of the meat. We weren't slaves, we were captives. And when you think about how you gotta take that rub off the grill, put a little onion in there, put a little ketchup in there, who don't love Sweet Baby Ray's? So what we're doing is what our people do. We are lovers, we are fighters, we are warriors, we are people of God. This is nothing new for us.
When you're looking back at this weekend, what's an image or moment sticks out to you the most?
I got a chance to shake Jakai's hand last night, and I looked him in his eye. We share the same birthday. And I told him, I said, you know, I got a lot of respect for you. You're a young leader coming up. And I see you in rooms and I see you talking, and I'm gonna give you a hard time every time I see you, because you always play small. You always act like you don't have the answers. I said, my whole life I was in rooms having imposter syndrome, knowing what to do, but not saying anything because people will put you in a box. Until God starts to use you and they realize they need what you have. And so when I shook his hand last night, I said, what else do you need, good brother? It was 1:47 a.m. He looked at me, he said, I need you to get the boys home. And it was that moment that I felt like I could pass the baton. I remember meeting Mark Wade when I was 23 years old. And he said, man, now that I met you, good brother, I can rest. That's how I felt when I seen Jakai last night. And I shook his hand and he was strong. He was a man of God. You know, he was going house to house, boom to boom to boom. Not all heroes wear capes, but seeing that young man, it encouraged me about this generation and the future leaders that are to come.
And then if you could say anything or one thing to the city after this weekend, what would it be?
Achieve possible because you can. You can do it. Believe in yourself and understand that you got to hold out till the help comes and use what you have.
You mentioned in the beginning you lost 2 children. These are your children?
Yes, sir.
How long ago and what were the circumstances, if you don't mind sharing?
My daughter wasn't stillborn. And so 2 days before we were having a procedure to make sure she came to life successfully, my wife was experiencing some pain. And we ended up getting to the hospital, and there was a moment where they did an ultrasound. They said, hey, where's Melody hiding today? You know, once you get to that 36, 37 weeks, you're going sometimes twice a week. And so the lady who was doing the ultrasound was so happy. But the Holy Spirit told me, stillborn. I heard it. The next person came in with a bigger ultrasound machine. They couldn't find her. I felt her kicking just a few hours prior. But the third doctor came in. They didn't waste any time. They touched the belly and said, I'm sorry, your baby's gone. And seeing my wife in that situation is something I never wish upon anyone. And for me, that made me change the direction. Again, Mira started with one of my loved ones having a crisis and saying, if I knew where they were, if I could find them, if I could see what's going on inside their body, I could monitor their heart rate, I could engage with custom questionnaires, I could make recommendations. When my loved one crashed out, I played music for them. and then I can advocate and show up on their behalf. I could talk about HIPAA. I could come if there's any type of challenges with the judicial system. I could do that. But when my daughter passed, I started a new pathway, maternal excellence, recovery, and advocacy. I started doing research about maternal outcomes, partnering with local universities across the US and saying, hey, let's do this research, let's use the tech that I have, let's do another user story for it. So for me, it's just, you know, the devil will take a swing at you, you gotta get your lick back. I took care of one family member. I got another young man I mentored that ended up in jail, and I started taking off the ankle monitors for these youth and getting them our Apple Watches. And now for my children, now we're gonna make sure that there's good maternal health. Because we went to Trader Joe's, right? We went to Whole Foods, we stopped eating red dye, and I like some Fanta, right? Some Flamin' Hots. We stopped all of the things, and it still didn't work out, but we're okay. So it's one of those things now where I'm just making sure that people really truly understand the type of environments of peace that are needed to bring in these precious children and to make sure that no one has to go what my family went through.
Yeah. That was your daughter. You mentioned you had another one?
About 4 months later, my wife and I tried again. And when I tell you it was so horrific, Black women with a master's degree education are 80% more likely to have negative outcomes when it comes to pregnancy. Wow. We drove out to one of the best hospitals and we were treated like trailer trash. The moment that we walked inside of that facility, they were just, do this, do that, do this. My wife passed out. She said, hey, I need to go to the restroom. Blood is everywhere. It was a horrific experience. And that hospital ended up doing a procedure without our permission while I stood there and was taking pieces of the baby out without even telling us. And so there's a tolerance level where people think that Black folks are strong, and we are, that we could take more pain, but they were not listening. And so now we will have doulas, we will have advocates that are culturally competent and relevant, that understand yes means yes and no means no. But that happened right after losing a child, not to mention Makai. Makai was one of our Mirror AI guys, and he was shot 8 times and burned up in a car. And that happened literally right after the second child, actually between the two. So for me, it was loss after loss after loss after loss. And I've had to stay in my word. I've had to practice mindfulness, but most importantly, I just had to talk to God.
Yeah. Those losses were part of your drive to get out there yesterday? Or?
Absolutely, 100%. When I went to the graveyard at 1:15 in the morning, and I saw my daughter's gravesite flooded, our son Mateo, he was gonna be a boy. He's a little bit higher up, a little bit further into the graveyard. So he was cool, but hers was low. And I heard God say, I will take care of your child, go take care of my children. So I said yes, and I went. My mom is a missionary. She's traveled all across the world doing missions work. My dad built heart defibrillators. Now I'm using heart rate monitoring. I'm the son of an engineer. I'm the son of a surgic tech. I'm a son of a missionary and evangelist. I'm a son of a producer. So my family is important to me because that's where I came from. So trying to make sure that my family is okay, I knew we were good by 1:15. What about the rest of the city?
Wow. Anything else about that day you want to share with me that we might have missed?
I will say I didn't know how much of an impact it had online. I didn't find out till about 4 p.m. that people were sharing resources. I didn't see the inboxes. I didn't see all the comments. I saw one person when I was live say, can you come to 60th Street? And then they said, can you come to 60th and Good Hope? Other than that, I just went to where I believe the spots were.
Yeah, the first video posted probably almost 2,000 shares now.
Yeah, I didn't expect it at all.
And I kind of noticed a trickle of other people getting out there after they see you get out there.
That was
They're like, I can get out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I saw an old lady out picking up garbage right out the gutter, you know, maybe an hour or two after you posted. So I think you did inspire some folks. It's beautiful, man.
Thank you, good brother.
So what I'm gonna do now, that's all I got. I'm gonna